All right, over to the next prospect here, Trey Benson. Trey Benson here out of Florida State here. This past season here, Trey Benson. I don't have his thing up here. Yeah,
I just pulled
156
it up.
carries, 900 yards, 14 touchdowns. He had 20 receptions for 227 yards and another touchdown there. Tyler, you go ahead and talk about Trey Benson. Do you like Trey Benson? Is he in the top 3? Is he not? Some people are iffy, but some people have him as the top back in this class. So,
yeah, he's definitely in my top 3. The only thing that would really knock him for me is just kind of the inconsistency that we saw with him throughout the season. You turn on a Florida State game, especially, when Jordan Travis was healthy. You turn on a Florida State game, and if you catch it on the right snap, Trey Benson looks like the best running back in the nation. No one can touch him. He can be elusive. He can be physical. But then you watch a couple snaps later, and, he has terrible vision, and he's running into the back of his lineman and getting tackled 3 yards behind the line. He has the size. He came in to the combine 6 foot, 216. So he's got the size. Ran a 4.39, which I want to say was second or third fastest time for running backs. So he's got the obvious breakaway, home run speed. But he's just a guy that you never really know what you're going to get. Sometimes you're going to get those big home run plays, and he's going to, shock you and wow you. And you're going to get some other plays where, it looks like he might need to stay in college a year or two to kind of mature on some things. And so he's a guy that, with the strength of the running back class that we're getting this year, he's not a bad running back at all. I don't want that to be sort of what's coming out of this, but he's a guy that leaves a little bit to be desired and to mature on. We see games like Virginia Tech, obviously, Virginia Tech, no offense, not the most outstanding defense that someone can play. And we see 11 carries for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then 3 receptions for 15 yards. And then we see games against Duke where he has 10 carries for 26 yards, right? And then 2 receptions for -2 yards.
Right.
So we're seeing the highs and lows as it went along with this season. And he's got the ability to handle an NFL workload. And he's one of those guys that I feel like doesn't have a ton of tread on his tires, about 300-ish combined carries throughout his college career. But he's a guy that has the makeup of an NFL running back. I don't think he's going to be a 3-down back and be an RB1 for you. But if you're in position, if you're set at the wide receiver position, or if he falls enough in the draft, getting him as RB2 in your draft is not a bad place to end up.
Yeah, I can see Trey Benson really falling into one of the situations where there's a running back missing. And then that's going to really drive his value up. And like you mentioned, he's not a complete back, which, we're at the RB2, at least for me, he's my RB2. And there's already question marks in his game. That's how it tells you how kind of weak this running back class is coming in right now. Some of the things I personally did like in him, I like the contact balance. I love the vision. I found him as a really good downfield runner. I think he can gain speed in the long run. Personally, that's kind of how I saw him on film there. Hands are good. Has he has the ideal size for an NFL running back. But there are some things. He does have an injury history, torn ACL, MCL back in his sophomore season or freshman season, sophomore season, if I'm not mistaken there. Not saying that's going to be a long-term effect or anything like that there, but he loves to take on contact. That could end up being a situation where he could end up getting himself hurt in that sense. Love to see his pass protection will be a little bit better. He's not as twitchy and things like that. That's why I'm not overly hyped about Trey Benson, but he definitely has a lot of solid qualities that can put him in the right situation to be good for fantasy football. If he lands like with the Cowboys, or if he lands, I'm trying to think of another situation they need a running back right now, Minnesota, situations like that, he's going to get bumped up in a big way. Not saying that he doesn't deserve it, because he definitely has a talent, but I think he ends up in those situations where it's not a big risk, but you definitely want to, don't overdraft him and take him with the top 7, 6, 8 pick in rookie drafts coming up, because there's definitely a lot better prospects that are coming in than reaching for one of these running backs in the early draft. But Trey Benson, pretty solid overall running back coming into the draft.